Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to the awakened one, the worthy one, the one who reached perfect enlightenment on his own. Dear friends, thank you for being here, wherever this finds you. Perhaps in a quiet room as morning breaks, perhaps unwinding after a long stretch of hours, or perhaps simply pausing somewhere in the middle of an unremarkable afternoon. Whatever brought you to this moment, I'm glad it did. Let's start with something simple, though it's a question most of us stop asking far too early in life. Ask yourself, what would actually need to be true for me to feel real happiness? Not someday, not once things line up differently, but right now, at this exact age, in this exact life. Not the happiness we imagine waiting for us further down the road. Not the happiness that depends on our health improving, or our family finding peace, or the world simplifying itself. I mean happiness available right now, steady, quiet, lasting, in the body you currently live in this particular chapter, carrying everything that came before and facing whatever uncertainty still lies ahead. For much of our lives, we were asking a different question entirely. We wondered how to achieve more, how to feel secure, how to earn respect. There's nothing wrong with wanting those things. And yet so many people reach their 60s, 70s, 80s, having gathered many of the things the world promised would satisfy them, only to discover that something still feels unfinished. The Buddha gave this feeling a name, dukkha. It's usually rendered into English as suffering, though its truer meaning points to something subtler, a low hum of dissatisfaction that runs beneath even a good life. Picture a cartwheel that's slightly off-center on its axle. The cart still rolls forward well enough, but the ride is never quite smooth. What I want to share with you today isn't a philosophical lecture. It's something far more useful than that. 6 modest habits you can practice daily, simple, repeatable, open to anyone regardless of age, that slowly pull the heart away from dukkha and toward what the Buddha called sukha, an authentic sense of well-being that doesn't hinge on everything going right. None of these habits are flashy. Their strength comes entirely from doing them again and again. Let's begin. Before naming the habits themselves, I want to explain why daily practice matters at all, especially for those of us who've lived long enough to be wary of easy fixes. Buddhist teaching offers the idea of bhāvanā, cultivation. The mind, the Buddha taught, isn't something fixed in place, like a stone already carved and unchangeable. It behaves more like a garden. Whatever we plant there, whatever we return to and tend day after day, is what eventually flourishes. Modern brain science has since confirmed something the Buddha understood 25 centuries earlier, that repeated thoughts and actions physically shape the pathways of the brain. Scientists call it neuroplasticity, but the everyday truth behind the term is this: it is never too late to grow a happier mind. The garden can always be tended again. Elders in the Buddha's era didn't transform their inner lives through sudden breakthroughs or long pilgrimages or one dramatic turning point. They changed through small, faithful daily returns to simple practices. Practices that, over time, built the very framework of a peaceful life. That's exactly what we're doing here, one habit at a time. The first habit is this: claim 5 or 10 minutes of stillness before the demands of the day reach you. Before you glance at your phone, before the morning news, before your first conversation begins. Just sit, or stand quietly on a porch, or look out through a window, and let yourself arrive fully into your own body. Feel your breathing. Notice the particular light of the morning. Let the day begin inside you before you step out to meet it. In the Pali tradition, this is sometimes called reflective morning awareness, meeting each new day with presence instead of reacting to it the instant it arrives. It sounds like a small thing. It is a small thing, but small doesn't mean unimportant. I think of a woman I'll simply call Margaret, a retired school teacher from Ohio, 72 years old, who came to a retreat with a complaint many of us would recognize. Every day, she felt, began in the middle of someone else's crisis. Her phone, the news, the needs of her grown children, her own worried list of things to do, all of it arrived before she'd even fully woken up. By mid-morning, she often felt as though the day had already slipped away from her. A teacher there offered her something very modest. Before anything else, spend 10 minutes sitting on the back porch. Simply sit, simply watch. Let the light shift. Let the birds carry on as birds do. No formal meditation required, just presence in those first minutes of the day. Margaret gave it a try, and within a few weeks she noticed changes she hadn't expected. She reacted less harshly with her grandchildren. Her sleep deepened, and for the first time in years she felt, even if only for those 10 quiet minutes, that the day genuinely belonged to her. Think of the mind in early morning as still water. If we let the world start throwing stones into it, the second we open our eyes, we spend the rest of the day squinting through the ripples, trying to see clearly. But if we protect that first stillness, even briefly, we carry a small reserve of calm through everything that follows. The Buddha rose before sunrise not from rigid discipline, but because that quiet hour is when the mind can see itself most clearly. You needn't wake before dawn yourself. You only need to guard a few minutes of quiet before the noise begins. That's the first habit. The second habit is this: give something away every single day. I want to be precise about what I mean, because when people hear the word generosity, many immediately think of money, of resources they feel they don't have enough of to spare. That isn't what I'm pointing to. In the Theravada tradition, dana, generosity, is considered the very first gateway to happiness. And the Buddha was careful to teach that it isn't primarily about money at all. It's about consciously offering something of yourself, your undivided attention to a grandchild speaking to you, a sincere compliment to a neighbor, 10 minutes of real listening to a struggling friend, a note left for someone who wasn't expecting one, a small kindness given with nothing wanted in return. Why does this bring happiness? The Buddha spoke of upadana, clinging to possessions, to outcomes, to how we insist things should be, as one of the deepest sources of suffering. Generosity works directly against that clinging, training the heart to open instead of close. In the act of giving, we aren't guarding ourselves or weighing what we'll gain. We're simply moving outward towards someone else. And in that outward movement, there's a lightness nothing else quite matches. I remember a man I'll call Robert, 68, a widower in Arizona, who used to joke that he had far too many orange trees and not nearly enough people to eat the fruit. So each Wednesday morning, he began leaving a small bag of fresh oranges on his neighbor's doorstep. No note attached, no expectation of thanks. He later told me that Wednesday had quietly become his favorite day of the week, though he couldn't fully explain why. The oranges cost him almost nothing. The gesture took 3 minutes, and yet something in him looked forward to it with a joy he hadn't felt in a long while. I can tell you why. In the moment he set that bag down, Robert wasn't dwelling on his loneliness or replaying old regrets or worrying over his health. He was thinking only of the giving. The self, with all its fears and grudges, stepped aside for a moment, and in that stepping aside there was peace. One deliberate act of generosity every day. It needn't be large, it only needs to be sincere. The third habit concerns the words that leave our mouths. The Buddha's eightfold path includes what's called samavaka, right speech. And I don't offer this as some rule imposed from above, but as a genuinely practical daily habit for guarding your own peace of mind. Think of how many invisible burdens older people carry that are made entirely of words. Harsh things said to a grown child that can't be taken back, cutting remarks made to a spouse during some difficult season that still cast a shadow decades on. And just as often, the opposite, words that were never spoken at all. Love that was felt deeply but never voiced. Gratitude that was real but never expressed aloud. Apologies offered too late or never offered. The habit is straightforward. Once each day, say one thing that is both true and kind and actually matters. And equally, practice restraint, choosing not to say what's harsh, petty, or unkind, even when it happens to be accurate, even when you feel fully entitled to say it. The Buddha offered a wonderfully clear filter for speech. Before speaking, ask yourself three things. Is it true? Is it kind? Is this the right moment for it? Only when all three are satisfied should the words be spoken. Most of the speech that wounds families, the sharp comment, the old grievance dragged up again, sarcasm that cuts like a blade, fails at least one of these three tests. It might be true but unkind. It might come from good intentions but arrive at the wrong time. Learning to pause, to silently run through those three questions before you speak, can reshape the quality of every relationship in your life. And the other half of this habit matters just as much, voicing the kind, true things you've been holding inside. I knew an older man, I'll call him Edward, whose relationship with his daughter had grown complicated over many years of things left unsaid. He began a quiet experiment, ending every phone call with one specific, genuine appreciation. Not a vague, I love you, but something particular, noticing, say, how patient she'd been with her son that day, or how much he loved the particular sound of her laugh. After 3 months, his daughter called him one Sunday and told him, without being asked, that she'd started doing the very same thing with her own children. One sentence a day, rippling outward through the family like light spreading across water. True, kind, well-timed. Nothing more was needed. The fourth habit concerns the body, and I want to speak about it honestly because aging deserves honesty rather than comforting illusions. By the time we reach our 60s, 70s, 80s, the body has changed. Joints that once moved freely at 40 now require some negotiation. Recovery takes longer than it used to. There are real limits now that weren't there before, and some of them are permanent. To pretend otherwise wouldn't be kind, and it wouldn't help anyone. But here's what I want to offer instead. In Buddhist teaching, the body isn't an obstacle standing in the way of spiritual life. It is the very vehicle through which practice happens. There's a formal meditation in the Pali Canon called Kayagatasati, mindfulness directed into the body, into the felt reality of being physically alive. The Buddha didn't reserve this practice for those in perfect health. He taught it to practitioners at every stage of life. The fourth habit, then, is this. Move your body each day, however modestly, and while moving, deliberately turn your attention toward gratitude for what the body can still do, rather than grief over what it no longer can. This is a change in orientation, not a change in ability. A slow walk around the block becomes a meditation the moment you truly feel each step as it happens and receive the sensation as a gift. Noticing the smell of freshly cut grass, the warmth of afternoon sun on your arm, the quiet miracle of your lungs filling with air without any effort of your own. Each dawn, walking the grounds isn't about fitness or discipline. It's a form of communion with the living world, each step a small offering of thanks, each breath a quiet acknowledgement that this exact morning, this particular body, this specific quality of light will never come again in quite this way. The point isn't performance. It isn't a step count or a pace or a comparison to what you could once do 20 years ago. The point is presence, arriving fully, warmly, gratefully into the body you actually have on the day you're actually living. Move with gratitude rather than punishment. That's the fourth habit. Now we arrive at what I consider the most important of the 6 habits, and I'll admit, also the most difficult. The fifth habit, before sleep tonight, find one grievance you've been carrying through the day and consciously set it down. The Buddha spoke plainly about bhāvanā, ill will, the quiet nursing of resentment, the slow feeding of old grudges. He named it among the 5 hindrances to happiness and described it with a vivid image. Someone who nurses a grievance is like a person who picks up a burning coal, intending to throw it at another. The other person may or may not get burned, but the hand holding the coal certainly will be. Growing older can, without our noticing, become a season of collecting grievances if we aren't careful. Old family wounds, a sibling's unforgivable comment at a funeral, an adult child who chose a path we can't quite understand, A friend whose disappointment years ago was never made right, imagined slights and long buried arguments and regrets that have hardened over the decades into a low, steady bitterness. I'm not asking for dramatic forgiveness. I'm not suggesting you call the person who hurt you, or pretend what happened was fine, or downplay your own pain. Sudden, complete forgiveness is rare, and it can't be forced. This habit asks something far smaller. Before sleep, name one grievance from that day, even a minor one, even something a stranger did, even a nameless irritation, and consciously decide not to carry it into the night. Not condoning it, not erasing it, simply setting it down, telling yourself quietly, I won't bring this into tomorrow. Not because it doesn't matter, but because you're choosing tonight not to be weighed down by it. One practice that helps here is metta, loving kindness meditation. Lying in the dark, breathe in slowly, and on the exhale, silently offer the wish. May you be well, may you be at peace, not for the other person's sake alone, not because they've earned it, but because a heart held open is lighter than one held clenched. I think of a woman I'll call Helen, 75, who had not spoken to her sister in 11 years, the rift born from a painful and genuinely complicated dispute over their mother's estate, a conflict with some legitimacy on both sides. Helen carried the bitterness like a stone lodged in her chest, describing it as a kind of constant background noise, always faintly draining her energy. She never reconciled dramatically. She never even reached out to her sister. She simply began, each night before sleep, to speak her sister's name and wish her well. May she be well, may she be at peace. Some nights it felt hollow, some nights it felt nearly impossible, but she kept returning to it. After several months, she told me something surprising. The bitterness hadn't vanished, but it had lost its grip on her. It no longer took up the same space inside her. It remained like a scar, but it no longer ached. She felt lighter. She slept more easily. She smiled more freely. Nothing had changed between the two sisters, but everything had changed inside Helen. Release one grievance before nightfall. Just one. Start there. And now, the sixth and final habit, the quietest of them all, and perhaps the most beautiful. Before closing your eyes tonight, name 3 things from the day that were enough. Not extraordinary, not flawless, simply enough. Perhaps it was the morning light coming through the kitchen window. Perhaps the coffee, warm and satisfying. Perhaps a grandchild's laughter over the phone, or your body carrying you safely through another full day, or a stranger holding a door open, or a memory that surfaced and brought a smile before drifting away again. In Buddhist teaching, this practice is called katanyutta, gratitude, understood not as forced positivity or denial of hardship, but as a deliberate act of seeing, a conscious choice to register what was real and good in this one day that will never return. Left untrained, the mind tends to replay what went wrong. The flash of irritation, the frightening headline, the ache that wouldn't ease, the call that never came. This isn't weakness or pessimism. The Buddha called this tendency papanka, the mind's habit of spinning outward into endless worry, grievance, and anticipation. It's simply what an untrained mind does. Nightly gratitude works directly against this pull, not by pushing away what's difficult, but by patiently training the eyes of the heart to also notice what was true and good that day. A small kindness, an ordinary grace, a moment of beauty. I once came across research where older adults were asked for just a single week to write down 3 things that had gone well each day. Their reported happiness rose and symptoms of depression eased, not after months of practice, but within 7 days, because the mind, once given permission to notice goodness, will find it. It was there all along. We had simply stopped looking. But there's something deeper happening in this practice too. Gratitude, understood through Buddhist eyes, is really our recognition of anicca, impermanence, transformed from something to fear into something to appreciate. Everything good today will eventually pass. The warm coffee will be finished. The grandchild will grow up. This particular afternoon light will never return in exactly this form again. That isn't a reason for sorrow. It's a reason to savor what's here, fully and gratefully, before it moves on. So, the sixth habit is simply this. As you lie down tonight, let the day settle and close, and name 3 things, however small, that were enough. The morning was enough. You were enough. This day, imperfect as it was enough. 6 habits, then, none of them dramatic, all of them humble and within anyone's reach, today, regardless of age, health, or circumstance. Let me name them once more, slowly. Begin each morning in stillness, before the world rushes toward you. Practice one deliberate act of generosity daily. Speak only what is true, kind, and necessary, and nothing beyond that. Move the body with gratitude rather than punishment. Release one grievance before night falls, and close each day by naming what was enough. These aren't a program for self-improvement. They aren't a system for becoming someone new. They are a return to the clarity, warmth, and ease that have always belonged to you by nature, the qualities of a mind no longer at war with its own life. The happiest version of yourself isn't younger than you are now. It isn't thinner or wealthier or free of loss. It isn't waiting somewhere in the future for the right conditions to arrive. The happiest version of you is the one who is present, today in this aging body, carrying this particular history on this ordinary morning. The one who is generous, honest, grateful, and willing, day by day, to release what no longer serves. That version of you isn't far off, and it isn't somewhere behind you. It's here, waiting patiently inside these small daily acts for you to come home to it. If these words have touched something in you, pass them on to someone who might need to hear them today. And if you've lived through something like what's been shared here, know that you are far from alone in it. Let us close, as is customary, with an ancient wish extended to all beings. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, may you live with ease. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.